Yeah, but I don't know if I should do the introduction already, or we should wait just a few more minutes for people to give them one last chance to join in. But if there's no one else joining in, are you up for doing a one-on-one coaching session, like a light one?
We can do that.
Sounds good.
I don't mind waiting as well.
Yeah, let's wait just a second, see if any of these people here.
So we just talk about whatever now?
Yeah. So how did your week go?
It was a good week. It was a good week.
What does that mean?
I had 3 shows and then did some good work on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then now I get to have the weekend and I can just chill and relax, and it's very nice.
Sounds awesome. Yeah, I saw some of your shows. It's really interesting.
Yes, I saw you in the chat.
Yeah, you're crazy good. I mean, I don't even know what you're doing there, but you're pressing those buttons like your life depends on it. It's quite impressive for me, who, I've never DJ'd at all or never been into that. So for me, it's a little bit like piloting an airplane. You know what I mean?
It's a little bit like that, yeah. I like to compare it to driving a race car.
Right.
Because it's like, you want to get to the end, right?
Yeah.
But you also want to get it, you want to get there fast, and you want it to be like exciting, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to get dead last, so you can't go slow. But you also can't go too fast, because you don't want to crash, because then you'll just lose. So
right.
it's like this fine balance between not going too slow and not crashing.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
That's
very...
that puts mixing in such a different perspective. Now I understand why a lot of the mixes are so fast, like do 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 do. A lot.
All right. Well, that's the music, but like in terms of like actually the mixing, because like you can play fast music, right? But like the techniques, like you can do a slow mix, which is like you play each track from start to finish.
Yeah.
And then you just sort of transition them quite quickly. That's like a slow kind of mix. But then you can mix a song, like maybe you'll play a song for only like 30 to 60 seconds before you switch it up, and you constantly have this like really fast pace, like, okay, here's a new song, here's a new song, here's a new song. And like you're always hitting the choruses, and it's like a very high tempo, high energy sort of mix. Even if you're mixing music that isn't fast paced, the mix itself can be very energetic. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if you drive a slow car, the racing itself can be fast paced and energetic. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can like mix several tracks on top of each other to create a new track, and then you can like try and match the drops with each other, and well, there's a lot of things that you can do. So
that sounds interesting.
Song selection is one thing. Like if you play fast tracks, obviously you can feel like, well, this is a really intense DJ mix, but you can play fast tracks and not do anything at all, and you can play really slow songs and do a whole bunch of things.
Okay.
I hope that explains it. Sorry, I haven't had my coffee today, so I might ramble a little bit.
No, that's good. It's interesting. It's just that it's a little bit technical, even though you're trying to keep it non-technical. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of songs and you're mixing them and you have to transition at the end, and sort of I get the idea of what you're saying, but at the same time I'm like, I get what you're saying, but if you would ask me to repeat it, I couldn't.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I'm trying to keep it on a layman's level, but it's like, how do you... I try to take that approach whenever I'm explaining things, like regardless of what it is. I try and think about it as if like I'm explaining it to a 5-year-old, like not because the person is dumb or anything, but rather that they just don't understand.
It's like
it's
this.
Like you have to start with the basics, you know.
Like the subreddit explain me like I'm 5, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
And even people who don't know anything about it can understand it.
How was your week?
Oh, my week was good as well. So I was I worked Monday to Friday again, just like for the past many months, because I haven't taken a vacation for a long time, probably since before the lockdown started. But yeah, it was good. I met with some friends on Wednesday. We looked at pictures from the past. Essentially, we looked at just various events, places we've been to together, things we've done, birthday parties.
Like memories.
Yeah, like memories.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and we just laughed at ourselves or at each other in the sense that we looked so funny and our clothes were so funny and out of place, and the gifts that we would give each other were like so lame because we didn't have a lot of money. but it was still fun, right? So fun memories.
That's cool. I like that. That reminds me of those, like, I don't know, I've seen in like movies and stuff when people have like the projectors with like really old photographs, and then everyone, like the whole family gathers, and then you look at old vacation pictures and stuff like that. Was it something like that?
Well, we did it online, like on Google.
Oh, right.
On Google Meet. Right. Yeah. Okay, but essentially, yeah. Essentially, we all share, like, not all, but some of us shared from our laptops photos of that we had and say, oh, do you have this one? Do you have this one? Oh, no, I don't. Send it to me. So then we made an album, or I made an album on Google Photos where they can add the photos that we don't all have. Yeah, it's full now. So
it's full?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, oh, I made this Google Photos thing for us. Put some pictures in there. 2 hours later, one of my friends writes me, well, I can't put anymore, so download this ones. Put a couple of gigabytes of photos.
Holy moly.
Yeah. It was a good week. But next week, I'm gonna take Wednesday off, and I think for the next month or so, I'm gonna take Wednesday off from work because I have some vacation days, and if I don't use them until September, then I'll lose them. So,
I see.
Yeah, so I'm gonna take every Wednesday off, man. That's gonna.
Chill. What are you gonna do with your Wednesdays then?
I would like to do a coaching session, like a one-on-one, like a private one.
Oh yeah, like the ones that you advertised.
Yeah. Then just do a little bit more sports, be out more cycling, because usually I go a little bit after work, but I can only do like half an hour to an hour, because otherwise it gets too late and have to do other stuff as well. Yeah, and just take it easy, clean, cook food for the following days, read. Just taking it easy.
Yeah, just like a chill day.
Yeah, it's like vacation, right?
Sounds good. I like those days.
Yeah.
I usually have those during the weekends when I just like laze about and just do nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you laze about and you do nothing, but in a sense you are recharging and giving yourself the time you need to relax and recharge, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you like to do during the weekend to recharge?
Yeah, because I tend to, like, when I'm working, I tend to go pretty hard. Like, I don't like taking breaks, and I don't like if I know how to pace myself nowadays, but I used to be able to just, like, work for, like, 12, 14 hours. Like, I just didn't care. Like, I had this, like, obsession or something. Like, I just had this, like, I just had to work, right?
Yeah.
And I would, like, constantly burn myself out. And didn't realize, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't work so much. So I was like, oh, why can't I do these, like, constant 12-hour days? Like, and then I feel a bunch of tired, like, oh. And then I would feel bad about it, that I wasn't able to keep it up.
Oh, that's it. So, were your burnouts long-term, or were they, like, short-term burnouts in the sense that you'd recover quickly from them?
Both.
Both? So
It's mostly shorter ones, but I've had some longer ones too.
What's a long burnout for you?
I don't know, like, it depends. The latest one I had was during Christmas, and that was like a month.
Right, okay.
But I don't know if it was as much a burnout as it was like, well, I was like burnt out, and then I was like, okay, I'll just take a month. Like, I'll take Christmas and just do nothing. And just like socialize and hang out with people and like play games and just have fun and not think about anything that has to do with work or anything like that.
Sure.
I guess that's a way of burning out. But that was like a month. But then before that, I don't know. I've had a few years where I've not been able to like do very much.
So like complete full years where you felt you were exhausted and burnout, or is that what you're saying?
I think you need to adjust your sensitivity, like lower it a little bit.
Lower it in terms of
when you start saying things, it sort of cuts out a little bit.
Okay, so let me just try and find that. So input sensitivity. I went to 55 now. I don't know if that makes any difference.
I think a little bit more.
A little bit more.
A little lower.
What about 60?
Okay, yeah, I think that's a bit better.
Okay, that's good. There's also something called noise reduction, but I think I should keep that on. Okay.
Wait, try turning it off, see what happens.
Can you hear me better now?
There's like no difference.
Okay. That's funny. I'll reduce my sensitivity a bit more, and hopefully that will give us yeah. How is this now? I reduced it even more.
I think that's good. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So I'm thinking.
Do you have noise suppression on? Or like, what do you?
No, I have echo cancellation, noise reduction, and automatic gain control.
Okay, try disabling noise reduction.
Okay, so I disabled noise reduction.
Right. Wait, try disabling echo cancellation.
Let's try everything. I'll disable echo cancellation, also decrease my sensitivity to 75, and that should probably make quite a big difference.
Yeah, I hope so.
So I was wondering about your burnouts. Is that completely from overworking yourself?
No, I think the burnout really came from like a lot of things. Like just in general, I didn't really know how to take care of myself, and I had a lot of like I didn't have a very strong support network, so I was sort of running around on my own for a long period of time, and like not really knowing what I was supposed to do or like how to do things, or like just a bit aimlessly. And then I had a lot
aimlessly
of stress,
in terms of not having a goal, or aimlessly in terms of not having a support network and some other things like that?
Both, definitely. Okay. I did not have a goal at all. Like, it's only been like the past since last New Year's, I think.
Okay.
That I've really had like a strong goal and a vision for my future. Like before that, one of my big fears has always been like, well, what am I gonna be when I grow up? You know?
Yeah.
Like, what am I supposed to do?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like I was like a big anxiety because you know you wanna be able to like get an income and like survive and have food on your table, right?
Sure.
And I've tried so many things. Like, I don't really like jobs. Like, I've tried jobs, but I always get I don't really, they don't really seem to mesh with me that well. The environment and the things that they expect from you,
right,
and the things that I want to give don't always like line up, and I don't have enough qualifications to get like a good job that isn't like entry level.
Right. So you think what I get from you is that you don't think that the jobs you tried so far are what you expect, but that there might be a job that could fit you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. But I think the difficulty is that I don't really have qualifications. Like, I don't have like a specialized education or like a high degree of competence in a field or something like that that would be able to land me a specific job. Like, say if I work for like I don't know, like a big tech company or something like that.
Yeah, I understand.
Or like just a company that's a little bit more, how do I put it, like woke, I suppose. But you gotta be knowledgeable and like have talents in certain fields, and like you gotta get enough stuff.
I understand. So if we return,
hold on, I gotta.
You still here, or did you say you were?
Yeah, I just gotta ask my brother to lower his volume. Sorry, it's really loud.
Oh, no worries. I'll wait.
Yeah, we live wall to wall, so.
No worries, no worries.
Alright.
So maybe we should return a little bit to the burnout, if you agree with that, because it seems to me like that's where we started and we deviate a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but it's not wrong, because obviously I'm just saying that it's good to keep focus a little bit. So, you said that you had no support network and that you were also overworking yourself. But wait, before we get into all of this, maybe you can tell me what burnout means for you and how that manifests in your body, in your emotions and behavior.
So burnout for me is like not really wanting to get out of bed, not really wanting to eat or make food, and just like, I don't know, just like staying in bed and like watching YouTube or like browsing my phone or even just doing literally nothing for like the whole day. And then I'll maybe eat something small and then I go back to sleep. And that could be like all I do for a few days or even up to like a week. And that's to me pretty, and like I'm just sort of in a haze. Like I don't really talk to anyone. I don't really have energy for anything. I'm just sort of like in like a cocoon, I suppose. So.
I understand. So you said that you're a little bit in a haze. I was wondering what sort of maybe feeling you get more with that. You mostly described to me the behaviors in terms of not getting out of bed, not talking to people. These are sort of behaviors that are more external. But what sort of feelings do you get more internally, and maybe how it feels within your body?
Well, I feel pretty bad, right? Because I don't feel like it's okay for me to just lie in bed. So I feel guilty for lying in bed. But then I can't really get out of bed. So I'm just stuck there.
Right, it sounds a little bit like a vicious circle, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like, I shouldn't be doing this. This is bad, but I can't really do it because I don't have what it takes right now to do it, and so I'll feel bad for even doing it in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's right.
What more do you feel other than that?
I mean, it's been a while since I felt like that. I feel quite stressed as well.
Okay.
Because I'm like, I don't know, it feels like I'm missing an opportunities, or like there's things that I should do that I'm not doing. I don't know, I think guilt is really the main, guilt and anxiety. But then I try and numb those feelings a lot.
Okay, how do you do that?
Watching YouTube for 12 hours comes in, and like not eating and just sort of sleeping. Like I just try and ignore the feelings and just push them away.
Okay, I understand. Are you also experiencing feelings of sadness or lack of joy, lack of sort of things in that direction?
Yeah, definitely.
So how did you figure out this is burnout?
I don't know if I think it was just a lot of small puzzle pieces that slowly trickled down. Like when I heard people talk about it, and like when it sort of very gradually entered my consciousness, and like people talking about it, and like reading about other things that are unrelated, but then they mention burnout and stuff like that, and I'm like, the symptoms that they have are sort of similar to the ones that I have, and it's like I can sort of relate to that.
Right.
But I think it's only like in hindsight that I really realized that it was burnout. Like I didn't, when it was happening, I didn't understand what was happening.
Okay.
I was just like experiencing it.
Yeah, which is quite normal. Do you get a feeling in your body, in particular, like a particular part of your body, when maybe try to imagine like you're in that circumstance, right? Maybe sitting in bed just watching YouTube. How does your body feel? Hungry.
Yeah.
Right. Is it because
I don't usually eat. I think that's one of my, I don't know what the word is, not coping mechanisms, but like if I don't have energy, I'll avoid eating, and then I'll have less energy, and then I'll avoid eating.
Right.
It becomes like this vicious cycle.
I understand.
So I just sort of feel pain.
Yeah, so mostly...
So I guess the stomach, yeah.
Yes, the stomach area, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. So you said that you work a lot, right? Which is one of the primary sources, as you said, why you feel this way. But you said there's also something else that sort of leads you to that position, to that burnout state. What is it?
How do you mean?
Sorry, there's a little bit of noise behind me. So I mean, you said that working a lot, like working 12 hours, maybe 14, 16 hours, I don't know, but obviously you work a lot and for sustained periods of time, which leads you to burnout. And when I asked you previously, is working hard the only thing, or working long hours the only thing that leads you to burnout, you said no. So now I was wondering, what are some of the other elements that contribute to your burnout?
Oh, right. Yeah, so not taking care of myself is a big factor. Like, if I don't sleep enough, if I don't eat enough, if I don't go outside, if I don't meditate, if I was taking medication, then if I didn't take medication, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, it's a very fine, delicate balance, and if I messed that balance up, it just sort of got tilted and everything just sort of crashed down. As well as like emotional instability, like if I had troubles in my personal relationships, or just like if I had some anxiety or depression, or something happened and that made me like very emotionally vulnerable, that would also be a trigger point for falling into that slump.
All right. This is quite interesting, this thing you're saying. So you think that a feeling of depression leads you to contribute to the burnout and leads you to, how you call it, in that slump. How?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to elaborate on that?
No, I don't think so.
Because what I want to ask you, so how do you distinguish between the burnout and the depression? Because a lot of the symptoms that you told me for the burnout, from what I research around depression, they seem to be very, very similar. Hey there, you right?
Yeah, I got thrown into the AFK channel.
Oh, I think it's if a person is not active for a particular amount of time, then
I think you should disable that.
Yeah,
because that happened during the meditations, though.
Server settings.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I thought that if people would talk, they wouldn't be.
You'd think so, but no.
Yeah. Okay, so I put it at 1 hour now. Because I think you have to put one. Anyway, so I was asking you, how do you distinguish between the feeling of depression and the feeling of burnout? Because when you described the burnout to me, a lot of the symptoms you described were very common to symptoms of depression. So I was wondering, how do you distinguish between the two?
So that was the... How do I put it? That was one of the difficulties with, like, figuring out that I had burnout. Because, as you say, they are very similar. So I just thought I had depression for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I did have depression as well. But it was sort of difficult to know which was which. And I really think me adopting healthier habits was the real, like, shining light on the fact that it was burnout and not necessarily depression that I was going through at times. Because when I started having healthier habits and being better able to take care of myself and not get myself to that point, then I could start to recognize a normal exhaustion, or like a normal, like being tired normally, like after you worked a lot, versus being burnt out.
Right. And what do you think was leading you previously to work beyond the point where you would be normally tired and to work to a point where you would be burnt out?
I don't know, like obsession. I just had this like, I still sort of have it where I have and it's something I've had to actively recognize and work against, where I'll have sort of a compulsion to, whenever I start a project, it's like I have to finish it. And if I don't finish it, I'll get very anxious about it and very stressed out. So I ended up starting a project and thinking I was just gonna work on it for like half an hour, say. But then I got into this flow state and I started working very well, and the project started becoming way bigger than I anticipated. And it was like I couldn't give up on it. And so I would end up working for like 4 or 5 hours instead of that half an hour. Just because like I didn't want to just like quit while I was doing the thing. I just wanted to finish it.
Right.
And I'll have that with bigger projects as well. Like it felt like, instead of thinking it'll take half an hour and I work 5 hours, it would be like, I think it'll take like 3 hours, and then I would end up working 12 hours instead.
Right.
Just like
I see. So this feeling of, like you call it, a feeling of obsession regarding your work, where do you think that's coming from?
Well, I think it's, I don't really know. Like, I've had it for a long time, where I feel like anything that I do, I have to like give everything, or it's not worth it. Like, it's just, I have to like throw myself at it like fully. And if I don't do that, then it's just like, well, you know, then it's not, then I'm just wasting my time, basically.
Have there been times where you've done some activities that you haven't thrown yourself fully in, or didn't like obsess over them, but you still got results and you still got joy out of doing those activities, so that work?
I mean, kind of. I mean, like, if I'm playing games with friends, or like if I'm hanging out with friends, then I guess that's kind of a situation where you don't throw yourself all in. But I still try to focus on the present, and I still try to not multitask, I suppose, and just do one thing at a time.
Do you have any other examples?
I don't really know.
Right. That's a little bit of an interesting observation there, because so mostly when you do work, you obsess over it and you go all in. When I ask you about exception, the only one you could find is games, which is, I don't know if you consider it as work. I generally consider playing games more of a leisure activity, or a like something that I do to enjoy.
I should clarify, it's gaming with friends. That was the... Like, it's hanging out with friends. If I'm gaming on my own, I'll be pretty serious about that too.
Right. Interesting. So even gaming is something that you go all into. Yeah. So then it does sound like most, at least if you can't find an exception right now, it sounds like most of the things you do, you go all in and try to do your best, essentially, and try to get, maximum out of that.
Yeah.
Do you have a memory of when that first started, when you first recognized that this is the way you're working?
I think I slowly started getting to that realization. Like the earliest memory? I don't know. I think it was like after I graduated.
After you graduated high school?
Yeah.
What about before high school, when you were in school? Were you not going all out in, maybe making a presentation for school, or doing some sort of project with your classmates or your teacher or whatever? Were you not going all in before that?
Actually, that's true. Yeah, I did that too. I did that then as well. Maybe not as hard, but I definitely had a lot of anxiety during, like, if I had a project that it was due and I didn't feel confident about it, I could just put it off instead of, like, if I couldn't give it 100%, I would rather not do it at all than to just give it, like, half-ass it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, like, a big issue. Because it meant I had a lot of assignments that I didn't hand in.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was like in high school it started. Because I think in like before that, I just sort of. No, even then. Yeah, like in elementary school, during art class, I would have these big projects that I would work hard on.
Mm-hmm. And so see, we're going quite far back. So we started after graduation, then we went to high school. Now we're all the way to the elementary, which is, I think it's important. It's important to acknowledge that maybe even kindergarten, that this behavior has been in fact going on for many years, and that to some extent, maybe inevitable is not the right word, but in a sense that it was a little bit inevitable for you to burn out at some point, considering that your behavior was going on for so many years and all you wanted to do was, go all out, do 100% of the work as best as you can. Otherwise, don't submit it and don't work on it.
Yeah.
So, why wouldn't you submit work if you didn't think you have time or put enough effort in it?
I don't know. It was like embarrassing because it's like, for me, it felt like it was like attached to my name, I had this like idea that it was like a reflection of who I was as a person, and that like my work reflects who I am, and that if I hand in something that's not amazing, then that must mean that I'm not amazing. So and then so like I would only want to show like my best sides.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So who didn't you want to embarrass? Is it just that you didn't want to embarrass yourself in general, or you didn't want to embarrass yourself in front of your teachers, your peers, or your parents? Which one of those were like most important to you?
I think people I looked up to.
Okay, so people you looked up to. Who would those be?
People I admired and that I thought was like cool or better than me. Like, teachers or my parents or like even peers. Or just other people that I thought was like, wow, this person is a cool person. I want them to think I'm cool too.
Yeah. I see. Was it more one than the other? Or is just generally you wanted to please all of them, not to please, but to impress all of them with your high quality work?
Yeah, I don't know if it was like anyone in particular. I think it just shifted depending on the life situation at the time.
Mm-hmm. I understand, because you look up to different people at different times in your life, so essentially it would shift with that, right? So if you would want to impress maybe when you were younger a bit more your parents, then maybe a teacher, then more your peers.
Yeah.
Right. Were there instances where you did some work where, I don't know, maybe you wanted to impress someone and you didn't manage to do that, and there were some sort of bad consequences? Maybe you wanted to impress your parents and you got a low grade, and then there was some negative consequences for you, or maybe a peer, or maybe a teacher. Do you have sort of memories of that happening?
Yeah. Uh, well,
Um, I don't know what you're thinking. Maybe you want to tell me what you're thinking?
I'm trying to dig up a memory. It's kind of hard. Trying to because I know the feeling that you're talking about, but like an actual specific moment where it happened. I don't know about that like big consequences, but I definitely know times where I wanted to impress people and then it just sort of didn't happen. Or like they were just sort of not impressed, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So maybe you don't know an example, but maybe you buried it too deep right now. It's not coming up, which is very likely, because that's what our brains do to so protect us and keep us going forward. Obviously, we can't obsess over the same event and the same thing over and over again, because it's not productive, and it's not how humans are designed to survive in the wilderness, right? You have to bury those things and keep going with your life. But you do remember that it did happen, right? And you did remember the feeling. So maybe you can describe to me how that felt and how that maybe changed you in some ways, if it did.
I mean, it definitely sucks, like working on something and then you're proud of it, and then you show it to someone and they just don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to the whole like feeling that my work is a representation of me, and if I represent a work that I'm really proud of, that I feel is an extension of me, or like a representation of me, and then I get met with like oh, that's nice, or like I don't really care, then it becomes like, it feels like they don't care about me as a person, because
Mm-hmm.
they don't care about what I did.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's very interesting. So you said that your work is a representation of yourself, right? So that's an interesting thing that I think is worth exploring. So what do you think that makes you sort of bond with your work so much that the the review of the work, essentially you take that as a review of yourself? So why do you think that you have this strong relationship with your work where it becomes a representation?
I mean, well, I got told I was a pretty smart kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard about people talk about like if you've been told that you're very smart, then all the things that you do have to be things that smart people do, and if you do something that a smart person wouldn't do, like a bad work, right? Then
Yeah.
that would have to mean that you're not a smart person.
I see. And let me ask you this question then. Could it be that you are a smart person, and you do sound like a smart person? So could it be that you are a smart person and you put in some work in something that you find valuable and that you find has a good outcome, and you put a lot of value in that? But could it be that due to some lack of experience or being too young or new in a specific domain, even though your work is decent for someone who just entered that domain, it's just simply not impressive for all the rest of the people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've definitely experienced that.
So, do you consider yourself, or maybe we can take a more specific example rather than just talking in very vague terms, because if you can give me an example where you've done something, then we can ascertain if you're at the beginning of your journey and you're building your expertise in that particular domain, and sort of the reactions that you got from your family or your peers, the one you wanted to impress. So I don't know, maybe you do have some example that we could take, because then it could make our discussion a bit more practical and more, yeah.
Like a recent example?
Yeah, could be a recent example if you have that.
Well, I guess my DJing is pretty relevant.
Yeah.
For my life. Since like a year ago. So that would be
right. So let's say you were doing DJing for 3 months, right? And you just did this awesome mix. You put a lot of hours of effort into it, in a sense that you really think it's good and that it should get some praise from a particular person. And then when you present your mix, your DJing work to this person, they say, "Oh, that's nice," and that's all. That's all they'll say. And you put maybe weeks of effort into that. How would that make you feel?
It kind of sucks, but at the same time, I've almost sort of gotten used to it. It's almost gotten to the point where I'm just like expecting it nowadays.
Right.
I don't know how that sounds.
So in a sense, that's good, because it sounds a little bit like you toughen up in that sense. But what I'm sort of striving for our discussion to go in is the direction of dissociating yourself from your work. So dissociating your ego from your work, because let me ask you, do you think that your work and your person of who you are they two different things, or are they one and the same?
I think somewhere in the middle, right? Like they're just I think they're interconnected somehow. Like yeah, no, I think they're connected.
Right.
You know, like the work that you do is because of the person that you are, and if you're a good person, then you would do good work.
Right. And I understand your logic there, and you know the logic seems to follow naturally. So you said that if you're a good person, you do good work. But
Yeah.
how about we said you're 3 months in or 6 months into DJing. And obviously your work cannot be to the level of I don't know, David Guetta or what do I know, Swedish rock mafia, or no, Swedish house mafia or whatever.
Yeah.
Even though you're in Sweden, you know, it doesn't mean that the skills just transfer like that. So let's say you've been doing this for 6 months, and your work is decent for someone who's been doing it for 6 months. It's just not, you know, good enough compared to all of these other big guys who've been doing it for a very long time. So why then would you tell yourself that I'm not a good person, or I'm not a good person, I'm not good because my work is not good? Why wouldn't you say, or maybe you want to answer that question?
Well, I think, you know, it's sort of like what you said about it being good for how long I've been doing it. And I think, you know, if I'm comparing myself, like obviously I can't compare myself to someone who's done it a long time, but if I'm comparing myself to someone else who's done it for 6 months and they don't have the same progress that I have, then I can still feel good about that.
Right. I understand. But I think I'm more going in the direction that how does a piece of work that you've done, because you know not all of them are gonna be good or equally good even when you get more experienced. So how is a piece of work that is not so good bringing your value as a person down?
I don't know, I guess it means, you know, if I produce something bad, then it means I didn't care.
No, but you did care, because you spent a lot of hours, you put a lot of effort into this particular task or activity, so you did care.
Well, I don't know then. Guess it doesn't.
There we go. I guess it doesn't. Right?
I guess it doesn't.
I guess it doesn't. See, so this is where we sort of get to the point where we realize that we are not our work. Just like you said, I guess it doesn't, because if I did put all my effort in it, if I did try my best, or not my best, I did try as good as I could, and I put an effort in it, and even though maybe my last work was not good, my last work was good, maybe it was brilliant, this one I made is decent or mediocre. And so what that means, that it means that I'm still the same person, I can still produce good work in the future, or I can still improve, but I am not my work, just because I've done this one piece of work that maybe not only did I not get praise for it, because right now at the beginning of your career, yeah, you do not get praise for it, but in the future, maybe you get in a particular area where there's critics or reviews, so then you will get negative reviews or very, very harsh critics, and so that will sort of destroy your maybe a little bit your sense of worth. Wouldn't you think so?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility, but I'm also, I think I've gotten to the point where I used to have that problem when I was younger. I would definitely say I was a lot more sensitive. But nowadays, because I'm my own biggest critic, like I review my own work all the time myself, and you know, even as I'm getting, like, I don't get a lot of praise, but I get a little bit. Like, I have some friends who are like, wow, this is really good, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But even though they're saying that, I'm still very hard on myself, and I listen for every mistake and every little thing that I could have done better. So I think if I had, like, critics that would give me criticism, I think I would probably just embrace them and just be like, okay, but tell me more. Like, specifically, what do you mean? Why was it bad?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then I would just take that advice and be like, okay, that's fair. But I think maybe to answer your question, if I felt like that criticism was unfair, I don't know. I guess it just wasn't for them. You know, it just doesn't matter if they don't like it. I'll still keep doing it.
Right.
So I like it. So
I see your point. So, well, just as a small side bracket before I continue with my main topic here, but you know, not all critics that you will have are gonna be constructive critics. So a lot of them are just gonna seek to put you down and sort of destroy you or your work. So in a sense, there's very little you can gain from engaging in all critics that you'll have. So that's also something to be aware, don't you think?
That's true, yeah.
But
I don't know how I would react to them because it hasn't happened. So it's sort of yeah, I don't know how to deal with that.
Just brush them off your shoulder.
I think so too, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we have a much better support network nowadays, which helps a lot if I ever feel like that.
Right. So, returning back to the main thread of discussion. So, while I do understand that you can, like you said, you are your own biggest critic of your work and can be very much assess your work and improve based on that. I still think that based on our previous sort of realization that you need to learn a little bit to dissociate from your work and realize that your work is not you, and that will not mean that you will care less about your work or that you will not seek to improve. Is that when you do something bad in your work, or not bad, when you do something that's not up to the level that you would like it to be, you can avoid feeling bad about it. You can avoid saying that there's something wrong with me, that this work hasn't been good. See what I mean? You can then say, so look, I will. This is not as good as I want it to be. I will write some notes. I will improve it, and hopefully the next one will be better. But this work here that I have does not represent me completely, and does not represent if I should feel good or bad about myself. Do you see what I'm saying, and does that make any value?
I definitely understand exactly what you mean. I think it ties into the whole allowing myself to rest. I think it's connected to that, where because I allow myself to have rest days, and even days when I feel quite slow and just tired, instead of having a lot of anxiety about them and being like, oh, there's a bunch of things I should do, I instead approach them in like, okay, but today I'm resting, and that's okay because I've done a lot of other things, and today I have to rest. And I think if I have a bad show nowadays, I've had a few. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. I had like a really, really bad show, like one of my worst. And afterwards, I was just like, wow, I don't know. It's really sad. But I think I changed my approach to exactly what you're saying. That instead of thinking like, oh, this work represents me and it sucks, so I suck. It's become more that it's just one piece of the puzzle, and it's just one step on a giant trek. Like if you're climbing a mountain and you accidentally step on a stick, or like you go the wrong way, it's not the end of the journey. It's just like you just keep going.
Yeah.
And it's like if you're building a collage, if you're laying a puzzle, right? And then if you have like 10,000 pieces, right, in that puzzle, and then like 2 pieces in that puzzle are like the wrong color, or they're missing, or whatever, it doesn't detract from the overall picture. You still have a great picture overall in the end. And so you just keep putting pieces down.
Sure.
So I definitely understand exactly what you mean.
Oh, that's great. So it seems to me like you already crashed into this. So essentially, what I was trying to get to is like, dissociating from your work is important to avoid this sort of very big failures where you can put a work. Let's say you would do a show or even a concert. Imagine you do a big concert and you have 1,000 people being there and listening to your music, and then it ends up being one of your worst shows ever. Like you said, you think you had one recently.
Yeah.
And imagine in that situation, if you're not able to dissociate from your work, or if you haven't dissociated at all previously, because it's also a little bit like a skill. It's not like you say right now, oh, I'll dissociate from my work and it's a done deal. It's a process, right, where we need to learn this balance, like you said.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's in a sense it's very brilliant that you had that bad show 2 weeks ago, if you think about it that way, because
absolutely it helped me as well, because I was doing before that I was doing like impromptu shows. Like I would just like decide on this spot, like, oh, am I gonna play today or not? And it was very chaotic, and I didn't allow myself rest days, and it was just kind of like, especially after that show, and then on the day after, on Monday, I was just so extremely tired, like really, really tired. And I was already tired on Saturday from the Friday show. So then I had 2 days where I was like extremely strung out, and I didn't want that. So I was like, okay, and that's when I realized, okay, maybe a schedule wouldn't be so bad. Maybe, and that's when I decided on the Monday, Thursday, Friday, like working on the week. So it's definitely, it was a good thing that it happened. Because now I feel a lot more balanced than I did before.
Yeah. So that's in a sense a very good way to reframe bad experiences, let's say. So you reframe a bad experience is as a very important piece of the puzzle, like you were mentioning before, the puzzle, in order for you to learn different lessons, such as having a schedule, and in this sense, and in this case also dissociating a little bit from your work. So when you do have a concert, let's say you're doing a concert, right, mixing, and it goes well halfway, then you're doing a song or doing a mix in the middle, and it's just not good, and it's bad, and you know it. And rather than, you're sweating a little bit, aren't you? Yeah. So rather than saying, I suck, I'm not good, I shouldn't be here on the stage, you can dissociate and use your skills to dissociate from that one bad song and keep going and do the rest of the concert better, rather than letting the anxiety and the stress of that one bad song to define who you are in that moment, or who define who you are overall.
Yeah.
Do you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So taking this example that I gave you right now with the concert, and halfway through something bad happens, one song doesn't go well, try and take a moment and put yourself in that situation, and how do you think you would react?
I think I would just smile and just tell myself to just keep going.
Right.
Like,
give me just a second.
That's how I usually approach those situations. Like, if I have a bad song, or I don't know, if maybe not smile, depends on how bad it is. Like, if it's really bad.
Yeah, it's really bad. It's
That's really bad.
Yeah, it's really bad.
I don't know. I mean, I have to keep playing. I can't just stop playing.
Right. Well, sort of, you have to keep playing, but that's not the point, because so you can keep playing and ruin the rest of the show because you're so overwhelmed by that bad experience. Or you can also leave off the stage. I mean, nobody's gonna put a gun to your head if you just leave at a show, right? You wouldn't be the first one to do that.
But I feel like that would just make it worse, though. Like, if I make a bad song and then I just leave, then that's the last impression people are gonna have of me.
Yeah. Also, it's good, at least you know that in your case, or in your situation, you wouldn't leave a show, which is already a very big step. I personally know people who would leave if that would happen at their show.
Oh.
So, you know, it's good. But you sort of didn't address the question of how would you feel if that would happen. So you sort of avoided that.
Yeah, a lot of anxiety. Like, feeling like every eye in the room is, like, locked onto me. Just judging me. They're like, what is this person on stage? They don't deserve to be here. You know? That's how I would feel.
Right.
I'm very scared that people are gonna leave. Like, even if they've been enjoying it, like, if I do something really, really bad, maybe they'll just be like, that's it, I'm going, goodbye. And then the whole club just clears out, and then I'm left there playing by myself. That would be really scary.
Right. Okay. That's a very, exaggerated example. Like, even my examples that are purposefully exaggerated don't sound that bad. So okay, but I get your point. I get, why your fears. Let's take a smaller example. So let's say that you had that bad song in the middle of a show, and like you said, you're scared that people are gonna leave, but most times not all people are gonna leave. But what if you notice some small groups of people here and there do leave the show? How would you feel about that?
I mean, it would suck, obviously, and I'd probably beat myself up for it afterwards. I think it's kind of hard, because usually when I play, I don't really think about much. I just play, and then I process everything afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And I've played enough mixes to where like I've done some pretty big mistakes already a lot of times, and I'm just sort of, I mean, you just gotta keep playing. And I've also noticed that the people who genuinely like you and who will stick around and who understands, like, they won't care even if you make a colossal mistake. They won't care that much.
Right.
And I think those are the people that I really play for. Like, if people leave, then I'm just like, oh, fuck them. Like, who cares?
Right.
Like, they weren't true fans anyway. Like, they weren't here for me anyway. They were just here to watch someone play music, and then they clearly didn't care enough to stick around.
So I think that's very important to think about it in advance, like to have this discussion that we're having now, because when you're in the middle of a concert, you will not have time to think of all of these things, right? You will just react to whatever happens.
That's very true, yeah.
Right? And so rather than letting anxiety and fear that people are going to walk out overwhelm you in the moment, and which will have the potential of ruining your next songs, what you can think about is exactly what you told me. So, hey, I bombed this song, but I know there's still some people out there who enjoyed my previous songs and will continue staying here listening to me because of who I am and what I do. Not because of my, they enjoy my work overall, so they're like fans. Maybe even newfound fans, not ones you had for a long time. All right, so it's important to be able to reframe this sort of thing in your mind quickly as you are, let's say, part of a concert, rather than letting the negative emotions overwhelm you. You can think about the actual, how to put it, you can think about this thing that you just told me.
Yeah, and I feel like I just gotta play better, and then maybe I'll win those people back, like the ones who left. I just feel like I played enough to the point where I know even if I have a bad section, I always bring it back, and like I always find some new cool thing that I'm doing, and I'll win the audience back somehow.
That's an amazing thing to say as a DJ. I always bring it back. Yeah. I love it. I'll always bring it back. That should be a song. But why do you want to win those people back? Do you think you have to win them back?
I don't know, maybe. I kind of want to prove to myself that I'm more than just the few viewers that I have, you know? Like I wanna prove to myself that I can fill a club, and that it's not just 5 people that's listening to me.
Yeah. Well, you had way more when I was there, so.
Yeah.
But so let me think about this for a second. So if you were at the concert or in a situation where these people left, initially you said fuck them, which I thought, well, that's a fair enough reaction, but then you sort of backtracked and you said, no, I would like to win those people back with my songs. I would like them to like me.
Yeah, I changed my mind. That's true.
So which is it?
Yeah, which is it? I don't know, because, like, you know, it's like the initial gut reaction is like anger, and then you're like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. But then at the same time, like, I still have some part of me that still wants to be friends and still wants to get along with people, so I'm still like, I still want them to be there and party. Like, I don't, like, you know, if I like, I can't judge them too harshly for leaving, because what if those people leaving just left because they're like, not because they hate me or hate my music or think I suck, but just they're just not very impressed. And then maybe they want to be impressed, but I couldn't deliver, so I can't be mad at them for that. And I still want them to come party. Like, if I just ban everyone who doesn't like my music for my party, it's gonna be a pretty empty party.
I think it's interesting what you said there, and I think you are on a very interesting path of saying that, hey, look, some of these people might have walked out from the concert or the party, not because of my bad song. So that's what I was expecting you to go and say, but then you were like, maybe they were just not having fun, having different expectations. But couldn't it also be a possibility, or couldn't it be likely that some of these people also left right when you had a bad song because maybe they wanted to get a beer, or they wanted to go to the bathroom, or they wanted to make a call, who knows, like a million different reasons.
Yeah, exactly. And that my bad song was just an opener for them to go.
No.
I've thought about that a lot.
Forget about your song. Forget about your song. Your song doesn't matter. They left because they wanted to leave. It's not connected to you at all. Right? So rather than always thinking about yourself and your work and how that impacts the people around you, just think about them as individual entities that have thoughts and, left from the song on completely disconnected from your song. Do you see how that could help you during a concert when you bomb and people leave?
Yeah.
Right. So let's say you're streaming DJing, right? And you have 50 viewers, and you're doing that. Your mixing is going great, and then you feel personally that it hasn't gone well, and all of a sudden your viewers drop to 25. What are you gonna think?
I think I just make a mental note out of it. And then...
What would you say in your mental note?
Like... I think it just eggs me on to work harder, because I know you say it might be unrelated, but you still notice a pattern that if I'm doing poorly and people leave, then it just sort of eggs me on, and it makes me wonder why they left. Like, what particular was it about that section that made them leave?
Right, but couldn't it also be possible that 24 of them left because maybe they had to go to sleep, because a lot of people tend to go to sleep, let's say at the same time in Europe, in a sense. And then one of them did leave because maybe he didn't like your song or whatever. But how can you know how many of them left because they wanted to leave and had nothing to do with your song, and how many left because they didn't enjoy it?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I can't know that.
No, you can't, right? So, in that sense, while you're most welcome to make a mental note on that, and maybe review the stream later and see what you were doing at a particular time in terms of mixing. Maybe you can also acknowledge that it could have been completely unrelated, that so many people left at the same time. Just the same as if you were at a concert, right? And people would leave in the middle of one of your songs. Because a lot of times now we went to the extreme. I wanted to go to the extreme of you performing poorly because, inevitably sometimes that happens, and you have to think about how you would feel. Because like we discussed now, when you're in the moment, you would just react to it and and get overwhelmed by the emotions. But if you're taking this time as you're taking now to think about your emotions and how you would react, you would be in a better control when it actually happens.
Right? Yeah. Like, what if a car crash happens outside? Maybe that's why they left.
Yeah.
You know?
Like
what if
yeah.
I don't know. What if Kanye West shows up outside the club? And that's why they left, and not because of me mixing.
Yeah.
They just, yeah.
I mean, in that case, they shouldn't have left. I mean, they should have kept on listening to you, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Just joking. No, I'm just messing with Kanye West. I've been writing some jokes about rappers this week, and I've been dissing Kanye West in a lot of my jokes for this Sunday. But that's completely unrelated.
I can't wait.
So one of my jokes was like Jay-Z is famous for saying that he has 99 problems and a bitch ain't one, but that was before he started working with Kanye West. Right, this is one of them. Okay, but let's come back to the subject. So yeah, you know, you're doing a concert, and it can be absolutely anything. And like I said, maybe you can take a note of, you know, something happened, and you can review that, because like you said, you're so in the flow of your mixing that you don't have the time to think about it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you don't have the time to think about it, but also unfortunately, your mind doesn't care that you don't have time to think about it, and will react with emotions, right? Emotions are something that we can't really control and keep, how to say, to refrain them from happening. They just do.
Yeah.
So then hopefully through training pre-concert, pre-stream, then your performance will be less affected by your perceived, let's say failure, even though it's a very strong word right now. So, but even though you would have these perceived failures, which might be imaginary or real, like we can know.
But it's like building up this resilience, right? Like a mental block, so that if I mess up, I don't let it affect moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Like I minimize the impact that it has. So instead of like having one bad song and then like the next 20 minutes are kind of bad because I'm so stressed about it, I just have one bad song and then I move on quickly, and the rest of the show is good.
Yeah, exactly. So
stay in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's why I think this idea, so apart from staying in the moment, which is great, but this idea of dissociating yourself from your work is so helpful and so valuable, because when you do screw up, you can tell yourself, I am not my work, and this screw up or this failure is not who I am, and I shouldn't let it define me. And moreover, just embrace that this thing happened to everyone, right? I don't know of any person in any field that has got somewhere, let's say, to the top, and they can honestly say, I haven't done any mistakes along the way.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
So let's also take a moment to welcome Nick. Nick, welcome to the welcome to the coaching session. We've been going for about 1.5 hours, but it's better late than never.
Yeah, I was working with somebody else. Sorry for being late.
Oh, no worries. So how are you doing, Nick?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
And last week, how's your week been going?
Last week,
This week, rather, this week. That's
just adjusting for the thing that happened the week before that, I guess.
Right. Did something big happen the week before that?
Yeah, so like I picked up a homeless stray.
Oh, that's cute.
Oh.
It's not cute. It's a grown man.
Oh.
Yeah. So
It's not a pet?
No.
No, it's not.
Oh.
So I now have a roommate.
Wow.
Oh, right.
Right. That's very nice. I'll clap for that. For Anna.
Yeah.
Really, that's just amazing. That's a beautiful gesture to do. So why not?
Could
We
still
should
be
encourage
cute.
that.
Just put some cat ears on him.
No.
Oh, that's not how it works, Amanda. You don't just
Yeah.
you don't just get
And
people off the street and turn them into pets.
And unfortunately, the circumstances are not particularly positive because, like, I think he deserves to be homeless. But, like, at the same time, I feel like it's my duty to, like, because he's my friend, and, like, I should try to not make him homeless because, like, I feel like he'll die if he doesn't, if he stays homeless.
Right.
And, like, it's a weird position I'm in.
Wait, why do you feel like he deserves to be homeless?
I don't know how comfortable you are with, like, discussing it, but it is of illicit activity. He's homeless.
Well, I am comfortable. I don't know if Amanda's comfortable. It's if you're comfortable to discuss it.
Like drugs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of a sexual deviancy.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I think, yeah. Alright.
Right. So
Right.
you think he deserves to be on the street for whatever reason, like you described. Sorry. But at the same time, you feel as a friend you have responsibility to help him out and basically make sure he doesn't die, right?
Yeah. And so, like, it's the question of just, like, whether or not he deserves to die.
Wait,
Because,
so
like, homeless is one thing, but death is another thing.
yeah. Can I ask you that does it feel to you right now that you're a little bit responsible for his life?
Yeah. Like, for sure.
Mm.
Like, I feel like I have an empty space in my apartment. And,
Yeah, but
like,
so do
I
so do a million other people in your state.
yeah, well, he is disowned by his family, so he has literally nowhere. He's homeless.
Mm. I see.
But, like, you don't have to put up with it forever, right? You can just set
No,
a deadline. Like, you get a few weeks or something.
Yeah, I did set a deadline. Like, it's like the end of the month. Basically, he either has to start paying me rent or, like, figure something else out.
Yeah, I think that's good because it hopefully makes him take some responsibility. But at the same time, I want to get back to this where I think it's a very big thing to say that his life is in your hands. Oh shit, my phone turned off. Sorry. So it's a really big thing to